Yeah, most Biden supporters prioritize finding common ground with Republicans, even if it means giving up some of the things that that Democrats want. So that's what they want to do. Like, they're there for the compromise. They don't really have, I think, that much of a strong political base. Like, they don't have that much of a strong priorities when it comes to like policies they want to see pass. Like, their lives don't depend on these policies, because I think the reality is they would just be supporting Bernie Sanders. As we continue to kind of, again, find more and more about the makeup of this, we'll get more into the supporters here. Most Biden supporters, again, they prioritize finding common ground. Around 7 in 10 of his backers, 72%, favor this approach over pushing hard for policies that Democrats want. Those who back Warren, 53%, and Sanders, 45%, are far less likely to take the view, no surprise. Though Bloomberg and Buttigieg supporters more closely resemble Biden's in that respect, it's more kind of a susceptible to a moderate mindset there. Biden supporters are more likely than backers of most other candidates to say illegal immigration is a very or moderately big problem in this country. So, I mean, that's kind of telling of the fact that, yeah, they're more conservative. Bloomberg supporters are about as likely as Biden backers told this view at 61%. Bernie Sanders supporters, among a third of Sanders supporters, are under the age of 30, a higher share than among supporters of Warren, Buttigieg, Bloomberg, and Biden. 6%, no surprise there. About half of Sanders supporters prioritize pushing hard for policies that Democrats want over finding common ground for Republicans. Among all Democratic voters, just 35% favor this approach. So they're more aggressive. They want to fight. They want their candidates, probably, and especially Bernie Sanders, to fight harder and push for the policies that they need. So again, I think it makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, I do want to get to, before we get. Yeah, let's finish the Bernie Sanders thing here first. A slim majority of Sanders supporters say billionaires are a bad thing for the country, a view held by 49% of Warren supporters. 55% of Sanders supporters say billionaires are a bad thing for the country. Buttigieg, again, put me in that 55% very strongly. Buttigieg, Biden, and Bloomberg supporters are much less likely to take that position, because that's not surprising at all. I do want to talk about Elizabeth Warren supporters, Buttigieg, and Bloomberg supporters coming up. But I do first want to play this awesome video that the DSA made about whose side are
the proposition that I've been on front lines of corporate price fixing is just to get that out of the way.
You worked for a company that was fixing bread prices.
Democratic presidential candidate and South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg has been embroiled in a 7-year controversy involving allegations of racism within the city's police department. Previously unreported legal documents detailing secret recordings of South Bend police officers allegedly conspiring to work with Buttigieg's campaign donors to influence him to fire and replace Boykins. A third officer in June reports hearing directly from Buttigieg that Boykins is done.
He, in the past, used the phrase, "all lives matter."
What matters about a black life to you, Mayor Pete? What matters about a black life to you?
You got to go all the way down here to find Pete Buttigieg, 0% in this poll among black voters in South Carolina.
Mayor Pete appears to have changed his mind on both immigration and Medicare for all.
As it dawned on him that he'd need this guy's voters to have any chance of winning the nomination, and as he got more and more money from Wall Street, he changed his tune and began attacking both Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren from the right over their support for Medicare for all.
Buttigieg has collected more than $3 million in so-called Wall Street money.
Multiple financial bundlers told the campaign that the Supreme Court and Electoral College proposals were not popular. Mr. Buttigieg has since quietly dropped them from his stump speech.
He is someone whom a lot of different people, including a lot of billionaires, think this is the kind of moderate we can get behind. This is the kind of moderate maybe we can influence.
Do you think if you're collecting money from dozens and dozens of billionaires, you're going to stand up to the drug companies? Which side are you on? Are you on the side of a working class of this country, or will you continue to stand with the big money?
Yes, that is the question we need to put to everybody out there. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? That is so important. Fire video,
The
Democratic Socialists,
proposition
go
that
follow
on the
them
front lines of corporate price fixing
on Instagram. So yeah, Pete Buttigieg, is gonna get some fire today. That is for sure. Let's do a little bit of a poll check. To hear, let's go CNN first, because the polls I think are different. Oh no, guys, I have some great news for you coming up. But before we get to this, great news. Let's check the polls here quickly. 27.7% with 33% in. Bernie Sanders is up 27.7 to 23.4 over Buttigieg, and Klobuchar coming up 20.4 to Elizabeth Warren's 9.7%. Klobuchar doing much better than I think expected in New Hampshire at this point in time. But here's some fun stuff. Guys, remember James Carville? He's been going on TV telling us how bad Bernie Sanders is and how you don't want to end up like Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party. So the guy he supports, the guy who he thinks is going to have the best chance to beat Donald Trump, Michael Bennet, guess what he just did? He dropped out of the race. Let me think. Let me just take a moment there. I would not like to be in James Carville's mentions tonight. That's what I'm going to say. Eat my fry, swallow on that, and say, James Carville, you don't know anything about politics. Anyway, yeah, so that is the reality of the situation. Yang 2024, by the way, already trending on Twitter, much more notable. And this is, by the way, how he started this speech.
You know, I am the math guy, and it is clear tonight from the numbers that we are not going to win this race. I am not someone who wants to accept donations and support in a race that we will not win. And so tonight, I am announcing I am suspending my campaign for president. You know, I am the math guy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, sometimes I get a lot of joy. Like, when Pete Buttigieg drops out of this race, I'm going to get sick amounts of joy from his supporters wailing and moaning and groaning, as they always do. But when it happens to Andrew Yang, I really do. I genuinely feel bad, because it's like, this is a good guy. Like, you get the sense he's a good, honest guy. And you don't want to see it. But, yeah, Yang 2024 already trending. Very, very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, we are following Twitter today. We're following all the Twitter trends and all this stuff going on about Chris Matthews. We're looking for what Chris Matthews has been. We're very much on Chris Matthews' meltdown watch today after he said he fears Bernie wants to assassinate him in Central Park. There's already great images of him crying tonight. Just being, I don't like this, guys. I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to be very good for the country. Yeah, let's see if there are any good videos right there. Yeah. Here, this is a good one.
One said to Pat Buchanan, whenever you hear of a Stop X movement, in this case perhaps Bernie Sanders, whenever you think of a Stop X movement, bet on X. In other words, it's probably not going to work. So if all you're doing is trying to stop somebody, goodbye, you're not going to do it. Sanders walks into the nomination whether you like it or not. One said to Pat
I hear
Buchanan,
some bending of the knee. I hear some bending of the knee. Wow. Yeah, like the crying on MSNBC tonight is going to be amazing to watch here as Bernie Sanders continues to lead in the polls, and we will have it all for you. Here's another good one. This is Nicole Wallace asking, just get me in the race, please, and get someone who's not Bernie Sanders.
I mean, what's so interesting, too, if you go back to 4 years ago, this is a little bit reminiscent of the Republican returns at this hour in the night. So you had Trump, and then when you divide the Trump alternative vote, as Steve Kornacki just added up the Klobuchar and Buttigieg vote, they far exceed. In that case, it was Trump. In this case, it would be Bernie. But it really does put to the Democrats a really interesting question, and I think it's what you were getting at. Does the race narrow in enough time to, if the party wants to go in a different direction than the Sanders vision for the party, do they have enough time to coalesce around an alternative? And I think that's where sort of we'll be talking about this night and its results for many, many, many more weeks.
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting point that she's really bringing up there. She says it again, obviously in an incredibly anti-Sanders way. But the point she's trying to make of, like, yeah, there's going to be a need to someone, there's going to be a need for the moderates. It's the same point I was making earlier. Like, there is going to be a need for the moderates to come in and maybe coalesce around a candidate and say, okay, we need to actually pick somebody who's going to represent us because otherwise we're screwed. And they are damn right. They're really damn right, I think, when it comes to that, because it's exactly what happened around Trump. Like, they went to who did they go to? Like Marco Rubio. Then they went to Ted Cruz. Then they went to John Kasich. And then by the time they stopped, it was too late. Bernie Sanders was forecasted to do well and everything. Like, Donald Trump was just running away with it. It's really, really incredible stuff that we see coming from the parallels of 2016 versus right now. But anyway, we'll get to more clips from that. But I do want to bring it now back to what we're talking about with the demographics of these supporters here. So talk about Elizabeth Warren and her supporters. Her supporters, again, according to this Pew Research study, are by and large well-educated and politically liberal. When it comes to ideology, liberals make up a larger share of Warren supporters, 74%, than any other Democratic candidate supporters, including those who back Sanders. It's 61%. They're self-described liberal and well-educated. That's, I think, the key difference there when it comes to ideology. Liberals make up a larger share of Warren supporters than any other Democratic candidate. So I think a lot of people who back Sanders, they're coming in independents. They're not necessarily tied to the Democratic Party because it really hasn't done anything for them. They've just been kind of screwed no matter who's in power, and I think that's what makes Sanders so appealing because he's not part of that party. He just has to go through it to win. Like, I mean, that's just the way our political system just works, but it is it's very clear that Bernie Sanders does not seem to hold any allegiance to the Democratic Party. Among Warren supporters, 53% prefer a candidate who will find common ground with the GOP, while 46% prefer someone who will push hard for Democratic policies. Interesting. They want a candidate, so pretty much they want someone to not really rock the boat. They share the share who want a candidate to push hard for the Democratic Party is slightly lower than the share of Sanders supporters who say this. It's 54% for Sanders, and 46% for Democratic policies. 46% for Warren, as someone who would push hard for Democratic policies. But this is significantly higher than shares of Biden, Buttigieg, and Bloomberg supporters who share this view. 8 in 10 Warren backers see economic inequality as a very big problem in this country, similar to the share of Sanders supporters who say the same, 77%, higher than the share of Biden, 66%, and Buttigieg, 65% supporters with this view. Buttigieg supporters, the former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, counts a high share of college graduates among his supporters. Again, kind of the same, very similar coalition to what Elizabeth Warren's trying to get off of. Around 6 in 10 Buttigieg backers have a 4-year college degree or more education, equal to the share among Warren supporters, but higher than the share of supporters among Bloomberg, 45, Biden, 37, and Sanders, 36. It's a 4-year college degree or more education, so 61%. So pretty much the well-educated whites who support Pete Buttigieg. It's just a reality of the situation. Even more than Biden supporters, backers of Buttigieg prioritize finding common ground with Republicans, even if it means giving up some things that Democrats want. Around 8 in 10 Buttigieg backers favor this approach over pushing hard for policies that Democrats want, even if it makes it much harder to get some things done. Among Biden supporters, 72% of people say this who support Biden, while among 3/4 of Warren supporters, it's 76%, and Sanders, 74 supporters say that government should provide more assistance to people in need. Buttigieg supporters are divided on this question. 48% say the government should provide more assistance, while 45% say it is providing the right amount of assistance. So